Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome everyone to our first meeting of the almost new school year. As we always do at this time of year, large numbers of administrators get up every morning and look at the enrollment numbers. Nothing is official at this point. We have a methodology for reporting, including nationally, with census dates into the semester that map every year. But it doesn't stop us all from looking every morning and speculating, nor the media from calling us up and asking questions about the day's numbers. So I'll just give you a quick summary, noting that we will be providing an official report and analysis once we have official numbers that really can be compared to previous semesters and years. So as of today, we're still down system-wide. UH West Oahu is trending up, the highest percentage among our campuses. Hilo is trending down, and I foreshadowed that at previous meetings. We do think there's a significant effect associated with the Kilauea eruption and lava flow impacts. And it's especially a shame because Hilo had been working hard, like many of our campuses, at really rebuilding enrollment with a structured plan. The community colleges are also trending down. That's our sector that is most negatively impacted by an economy that's red hot and essentially full employment. That just gives people alternatives other than going to school. That said, the community colleges are working hard at leading our efforts to bring adults back who can benefit from higher education later in life. And they're also active participants in our distance learning initiative. And we're really targeting adults who aren't going to come to school during daytime because they are employed. Manoa is, at this point, basically flat, but a couple of insights on that number. We have what appears to be perhaps the largest freshman class, certainly in 10 years, maybe ever. We have record numbers of new applications. New freshmen are up by 12%. Resident new freshmen are up by 10%. Resident transfers are up by 8%, and total new undergraduate enrollment is up. So this year, for the first time in several years, we have waiting lists for our dorm rooms once again. So the natural question is, so why isn't the number up also? And we're looking at what that is. Two obvious answers. One is graduate education. So we need to apply the same discipline to graduate education that we have been for the past several years on undergraduate. And we also always have more to do to improve our retention numbers. And that's certainly a sweet spot for us that's good for students and good for us. What I would observe from the email traffic that we see most days about this involving something that we notice or another is that our campuses are really at the beginning of a journey that lots of universities, and particularly private universities, had been on for many years, to be deeply analytical and scientific about enrollment management. And it's remarkable to watch the impact, and I know all of that work will be paying off over time. So I'm optimistic we'll see some good numbers in some parts of the system, and we'll continue to keep you informed. The other number that we look at regularly is our extramural funding. Not only does that a significant part of our activity, representing in the range of a third of our operational activities, but it also generates our RTRF, our Research, Training, and Revolving Fund, which help us reinvest in research and innovation. Vice President Sirmos will be reporting on this in much more detail in the Research and Innovation Committee, but I just want to share the raw numbers since we just closed after the last meeting. We're basically flat this year as $386 million this year versus $387 last year. That's not great. But at least it's not another decline. So flattening is the first step toward recovery. We have been declining pretty much every year recently, except for 2015. We did have a burst up that year because of a couple special projects. Community colleges in Hilo are basically flat. West Oahu is the smallest of our units, but it also was the largest percentage up. Chancellor Benham has created an Institute of Engaged Scholarship to really lead the efforts at West Oahu, and that focuses on their activity not to do basic research, but to advance the public good through active collaboration with community partners to address key issues in the community. Manoa is up. In fact, it's over 300 million, which is great. The decline was really at the system level, which is the second largest producer of extramural funds after Manoa. Vice President Sirmos has reported some of that is timing, and I will say that as of this morning, this is another set of numbers we get every day, we're up about 10 million over last year. So, we're continuing to see improvement. And as Vice Chancellor Bruno often notes, at Manoa in particular, the impact of the recession and hiring freezes was really pretty chilling on research as we lost people and weren't replacing them. But some of the strategic new hires, we are starting to see their productivity come into the numbers and frankly our impact, and we expect that to continue for years to come. New faculty generally are not productive in their first year or two as they're settling in and setting up their labs. I wanted to mention, this was in the Pacific Business News covered the story. As of July 1, we assumed full responsibility for the Manoa Innovation Center. This is an interesting activity. UH has owned the land and the building since it was constructed. Initially, it was built by the state with a 25-year lease to the High Tech Development Corporation. That lease has expired. It was a significant political challenge in spite of our legal authority to take it back at any time. It was a political challenge, and I want to thank especially Vice Presidents Young and Sirmos for covering all of our bases. I will say there are people who are not happy, but I found it unconscionable that we were paying rent to another state agency to occupy space in a building we owned on land we owned. So we've turned that around, and now that revenue is available to us for investment in innovation, and we're looking at it to help us with our new innovation hub at the Y location, and I'll say a little bit more about that later in the agenda. The Maunakea rules that you approved us to go to hearing, last month I reported that the governor had approved our going to public hearing. We are fully on track. There will be public notice this Sunday. We will be conducting 4 public hearings at the end of September, 2 on Hawaii Island, one on each side of the island, 1 on Oahu, and 1 on Maui. And again, special thanks to Regents Akoba, Portnoy, and Moore for serving as hearings officers for those hearings. Our members of the UH community are always actively engaged in the broader community, and I think our latest is General Counsel and Vice President for Legal Affairs, Kerry Okinaga, has been nominated to the Police Commission. Not exactly one of the easiest jobs in the state, so it's heroic. I'll leave it at that. It is heroic public service. And she's partway through that process, which goes through the City Council, much like certain nominations that are approved by the state have multiple steps. I'll just mention Vice President Young also serves on the HEART Board for the City and County of Honolulu, as well as on the Deferred Compensation Board for the state. And that's in addition to the many, many structural participation opportunities we have by statute and charter on many boards and commissions, as well as our active membership in many organizations, and our vice presidents and faculty members are actively involved in advancing the public good through all of those things with expertise and just the wisdom of years and commitment to Hawaii. One of the best pieces of news, at least temporarily good news, is the eruption. We are in, I think the official term is a lull. There is an unwillingness by anyone to say it's done because there's no basis to really understand if it's finished. But a lull is better than what we have been experiencing over the past several months. The impact is already severe on the community and frankly on UH Hilo and Hawaii Community College enrollment. I will say this is one of the unique aspects of higher education in Hawaii. Not many universities wake up to read the news of eruptions, lava flows, and now hurricane reports for this current 6 months every morning, but it is part of what we do and have to pay attention to in addition to our work around education and research. I always like to say something about our two unique aspects of our mission, which for us are sustainability and our commitment to be a model indigenous serving university. Our big news in sustainability operations this month is the kickoff of the UH Manoa PV project. That's a project that will generate about 2 megawatts with a few buildings, but mostly providing canopies over parking, which also gives us covered parking. We will not be citing that in our forthcoming request for new rates. But we do expect to save between 2 to 8 million with this project, and this is really just the beginning. We are standing by our commitment to become net zero by 2035, and that will be a mix of both additional projects to generate power, but also conservation projects at UH Manoa and across the state. UH West Oahu just hosted about 3 weeks ago the national meeting of the Sustainability Agriculture Education Association. There was over 200 participants from literally all over the world, including some of the best research universities in the country. Sustainable ag is a topic of interest everywhere, and Hawaii has a huge opportunity. Both our programs at UH West Oahu and UH Hilo, which have been identified as great values, as I mentioned previously, but also the statewide work of the College of Tropical Ag and Human Resources on every island, make a real difference as we look to a more sustainable ag enterprise here in the state of Hawaii. And of course, what was unique for these people who came here was their opportunity to engage with presentation tours and hands-on activities that really show the connections in Hawaii that are unique among food, land, people, along with our traditional culture and practices. Kapiolani Community College is the first campus in the UH system that has now launched its academic subject certificate program in sustainability. As we've reported on, this will also roll out to the other campuses, and it provides pathways into baccalaureate programs as well. Again, this is something we know our students are interested in, and we have an active system-wide faculty group that's leading the way in understanding how to create curriculum opportunities, including pathways. And finally, let me mention that tomorrow, a holiday, we will be gathering a group of Hawaiian language faculty from across the UH system to look at our work at improving the flow for students, not just between our campuses, but increasingly we are having students arrive with varying levels of Hawaiian language instruction from the public schools, the charter schools. The immersion schools, of course, create a really unique challenge and opportunity for us in how to place them, as well as from our community colleges into our four-year campuses. Needless to say, our faculty have different perspectives on how the language should be taught, what the key competencies are, and tomorrow is focused on trying to bring our faculty together with agreement about actual competencies that can be assessed so that we are fair to students within the system and who are coming into the system for placement into Hawaiian language. I know this will surprise people, but language in general and Hawaiian language in particular is a job pathway. There is a huge shortage of fluent Hawaiian language speakers to teach in immersion schools in this state today, and that's growing. I applaud our faculty for taking their holiday to work together on this tomorrow. And with that, I conclude my President's report.